Okay, so he's just like 3 months younger than my daughter.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Josh. No, I know. Go back to sleep.
He loves the screen. Yeah, he's not going back to sleep. Forget it now.
Go sleep.
See, he's laughing at you.
Hey, come on, buddy. Go to sleep. Okay. All right, so tell me when we're going.
Yeah, we're going. Hey everybody, welcome to the 3cast for good lord. It's
23rd.
we've done what, one episode this year already? And it's like
Yeah.
March 23rd and
Not bad.
we don't want to strain ourselves and do way too many episodes, you know.
Well,
It's
did you
the
have
winter,
all
man.
those issues, man? That's a lot of reading for this one.
It was a lot of reading, but I didn't get through all of it, so imagine that.
As long as you got through the main points, you'll be all right.
I got through some of it, but so before we get into that, this is the 3cast. We review comic books, we review movies most of the time. Every once in a while, we do a TV show. This time, we're reviewing Flashpoint, which is a comic book. How many issues were there, Ricky?
Lots.
Lots. Okay, that's a specific number.
I would say like in the 40s.
No,
there was
more.
Yeah.
I thought there was about 70 of them, but
Really? Okay.
I suppose I could probably go look, but then I'd not be a lazy bastard. Anyways,
It's lots.
So there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
So just before we get into the review and you guys telling us what this is about, I didn't find. So in that file you sent, Ricky, there was an order list, right? Oh,
Yeah.
it was like read them in this order. I didn't find that until today. Well, okay. So I went to the CBR reader that I use on Linux.
Yeah.
It only shows CBR files in the file.
Okay,
And that's a
yeah.
.txt file, so I didn't see it until today.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's okay. You can, if you read it in the order, I mean, you'll be able to put it together. So really, that's
I was so confused. But we'll get to that when I talk about what I thought about it. So, Ricky, why don't you tell us what Flashpoint is basically about?
Yes. So Flashpoint led into the 2011 DC relaunch when they called it the New 52. So basically, Flashpoint is an altered universe where Barry Allen is the only one aware of the difference from the regular timeline. In this timeline, Barry Allen doesn't have his Flash powers. Bruce Wayne is actually the one that died, and his father, Thomas Wayne, becomes the Batman, but a more aggressive, like he kills people and stuff. Yeah. His mom, Martha Wayne, becomes the Joker. No one knows of Superman because he's kept underground, away from sunlight. As we all know, that's where he gets his powers. So it's just crazy like that. It's a very World War-ish thing. Because Aquaman and Wonder Woman meet, they plan to get married. Both sides of their family followers conspire against them, which leads into a world war kind of thing. And they sink different nations and take over different nations. So it's sort of a lot of people are killed, but a lot of people are cowering from people with super powers. So I picked this because it's just very different from the big three that everyone knows from DC Comics of Superman, Batman, Flash. If you want to throw Wonder Woman in there, it's just a very different story. And it also leads into a lot of things, like there's other side characters like Booster Gold and Rip Hunter. So it also leads into a lot of the current DC shows. The Flash even did a Flashpoint arc during one of their seasons. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting read because of the way it's so different.
Okay. So
Yeah, I mean,
I
wanted to get you guys' take.
So
Go ahead, Vince.
my sense is that you know what, I honestly I'm not a big DC fan in general, and when I was given this, I was like, oh my god, it's a lot of reading, and you know, like my problem with DC characters is that they are the same character throughout. Like, you know, Superman's always the golden boy, Batman's always the badass, Flash is just, oh, I don't even know the Flash because I don't count him in the pantheon of heroes. Wonder Woman's like always aggressive and stuff, but you know, reading this, it was actually a really good point of departure because you could actually see them explore potentially darker veins, like the fact that Aquaman does go really dark. It's actually like Namor. Like, again, I'm more a Marvel guy, but it's very much this kind of us versus them condition. The Amazonian kind of relationship was interesting. I thought that the ending of the whole entire Flashpoint arc was very rushed. I think the kind of divine intervention by Superman at the very end was a little bit silly. Matt, I'm not sure if you read it, but the core Flashpoint arc is just encapsulated in, I think, like 4 comics. Correct, Ricky?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, but if you don't follow, if you just read just that 4 comic arc, it really is this oversimplification of the complexities and nuances of all these characters. Like you find out it's like almost a Bruce Banner thing with Superman and Lois Lane kind of thing, where Lois Lane never really meets Superman unless except for the fact that when they were little kids, and her father happens to be like a general that kind of is responsible for like a whole bunch of experiments and stuff, and she ultimately dies, and Superman just, you know, or the guy that is to be Superman eventually just kind of lashes out and stuff. It's interesting because you see all these little sub plots that arise, and I'll tell you right now, some of them introduced me to characters I really didn't even care about or know, like Booster Gold. I still don't know very much about him other than the fact that he sold out when he was a kid. But the interesting thing is that I don't even know if these are the real stories, backgrounds of these people, or if they're like the Flashpoint kind of different universe kind of story arcs, right? And I thought it was interesting that they pulled out all the stops. Like, when you can give an entire story arc to not just like Slade Wilson and Deathstroke, but like the fact that you can go all the way down to like Frankenstein and stuff. It was just so weird to see all these things come into play. Yeah, I know, Josh, it was terrible. But some of the stories, I thought, like, what was it? I had no idea. Like, I'll be honest with you, I have no idea. In general, right? I just know he's a fast dude. I knew this Barry Allen, this Wally West. I don't really know I didn't realize it was a Flash family to begin with. I never understood what made Flash have other Flashes, because his thing was a freak accident, and then you have all these other Flash people, and I was like, wait, how many freak accidents?
Oh, you're so outside of the Flash, dude.
Yeah, well, I don't know, man. I was just
Barry Allen's not even the first Flash.
Yeah, right. Is it Wally West?
Nope, Jay Garrick. He's the original Flash.
Okay, but you see, there's all these. No, but what I want to get is that, like, I honestly didn't really know much about Flash other than the fact that he was a fast dude, and that, you know, because he could like control his speed so much he could die time. I didn't realize that there's this thing called a magical thing called Speed Force that made him what he is. I didn't think it was a magical thing. I thought it was just like a thing. I honestly, right? And just to see all the stuff go down, and like he has like Kid Flash and like Super Flash, Girl Flash, Guy Flash, I don't know, like all these Super Flash people. I was like, whoa, I get confused. And that's the thing that really made it a little bit difficult for me as kind of introduced to it. I didn't know all of the nuances of how time travel in the DC universe works. And that's why it became a little bit of a problem for me. I still don't understand the whole being protected by the timelines and stuff thing, because some people remember, some people kind of remember, and some people start losing the memory, like Back to the Future style. So I thought it was kind of difficult to follow on that part. But like I said, the thing that was more interesting to me was just the secondary characters. Like I didn't realize that Captain Cold, the whole thing about Captain Cold, or like Mr. What's his official in the real universe, like bad guy?
Mr. Freeze?
Captain Cold.
Captain Cold.
Captain Cold.
Yeah. So
what?
It's Citizen Cold in the Flashpoint arc, right?
In Flashpoint, yeah.
Yeah, because he's a good guy, but he's really a bad guy.
He's a superhero. Yeah, they just don't know he's a bad guy.
Yeah, so like I didn't know, like I'll be honest with you, when I first like Matt, I didn't have the text file, So I actually went through them all in alphabetical order. So I started with Captain Cold, or something like that, and I was like, "What the hell's going on? Like, this is like this whole entire thing is all based on some useless like Eskimo character." And just following all this stuff that I finally got through all of it, and I was like, oh, okay, I get it all. And like I said, if you understand the basic premise of that 4-story arc, every single thing, even after reading the 4-story arc, I started reading like Lois Lane because I didn't really care about that stuff. But reading all the other things, it actually made it a more interesting. Hey, down, dude. It made a more interesting, complex storyline, and I actually, like I said earlier to you guys, okay. Am I there talking?
He's trying to tell you. He's trying to tell you all the stuff you're wrong about, right?
I know.
Tell him you read the whole arc.
He's a Star Wars fan. You're a Star Wars fan, aren't you? But anyways, in general, I texted you guys earlier. I think it's a good story. I just wish that the story at the end, the conclusion, the Deus Ex Machina thing, where Superman just comes in. I think they could have done something better. But and Batman killing at the end, yeah, it was okay. But I think it was, again, I find it hard to believe that guy is Thomas Wayne because he looks exactly like Bruce Wayne and he seems so young relative to everyone else. Like, there's no way that Bruce Wayne's dad could be alive and kicking and be the Batman that you see in that comic arc. Okay, that's my 2 cents. I'm gonna pacify baby.
Okay, so a couple things. I didn't read it into all of it because I was confused because I didn't read it all the way, like in order.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that came across to me is that what was really came into my mind is that someone didn't like Batman and Superman and the Flash the way they are in like the real universe, so they decided to write fan fiction, and they came up with this. Now, I don't know if you guys have ever actually read any fan fiction, but there's some weird shit out there. Oh, sorry, baby. There's some real.
What'd you say?
I'll put $1 in the swear jar and go for your college education. Anyways, there's some really weird crap out there. And that's what this read to me is. This is like DC Comics fan fiction, because everything, like Vince said, everything is so weird. They change things just for the point of sometimes just changing things, like making Batman a different person, and it's like they took several different points of departure in this story, and that's how they created the characters and altered them different from where they were in the original universe. So, as you might expect, reading this out of order kind of messed with my mind a bit. But also, I came across the age-old comic book problem of not knowing the background stories of the characters and not understanding, like with Captain Cold, I didn't know what the hell was going on with that person. There's a couple other ones, like I don't know who these people are. And then like Vince, because I knew that this was like a really weird alternate universe, I didn't know, is this how this person really is, or is he like some different character in the main universe? So that was confusing. Mm-hmm. But a couple things I will say that are good about it. The art was really good.
Yep.
It was actually really well drawn. It was unlike some of the older comic books that I've read. It flowed each episode or each issue flowed really well. You could tell where you were supposed to read next, where some comic books kind of are all over the place. You're not really sure the order of dialogue that you're supposed to read. This one did a fairly good job of that. And it wasn't a terrible story, other than it seemed a little bit like crack fiction in terms of everything being so different. I don't think it's not something that I would normally have just picked up on my own, mainly because outside of Batman, I'm not a big
DC fan.
Yeah, DC fan. I love Batman, but I don't like Superman. Like at all.
Boo! Get out of here.
I don't like Superman. He doesn't have to work for anything. He's a superhero who has superpowers. How boring. Batman has to work for things. He had to train and.
Yes, I know. He's a billionaire with lots of gadgets. Oh God, how hard his life must be.
Well, because Superman has it way hard. Anyways, you know, and the thing is, I don't like the Flash either. Now I don't know.
Now you really need to shut up.
Now, see, I don't know much about the Flash.
Yeah,
So much in the like printed comic books. But I watched like the Arrow right on the CW, and they used the Arrow to spin off for the Flash, right? So like the accident or whatever, the Spider-Man like accident or whatever that causes the Allen kid to become the Flash. That happens in the Arrow, and then he gets his own series, right? So I'm not sure if that does that happen like in the
no, it's
actual
just
comic
lightning
books?
and chemicals. There's no particle accelerator.
Okay.
See, it's
so
similar.
Like the only experiences I had with the Flash come from the TV show, and I didn't care for the 2 episodes of the TV show I watched. So, I mean, obviously, it's kind of really bad to judge, you know, the cinematic version of a comic book character to the, you know, the comic itself. But that's the only exposure I had to it. So, I'm just not I think a lot of the problems with these, I'm gonna call them minor superheroes compared to like, you know, Superman and Batman, is that they have to come up with stories and villains or whatever that you just haven't had an exposure to. So like everybody knows the Joker, and everybody knows, you know, like the Penguin and the Riddler, and you know, from Batman, and even from you know, Superman, you have, you know, Lex Luthor or whatever. But in the smaller ones, they just don't know anybody. I think that's every time we read one of these comics, I come up with the same problem, is that I'm not the comic book aficionado that you guys are. So I go into these, you know, I read them, and half the time I'm spending trying to figure out, you know, who this person is. So that kind of takes away from some of my enjoyment, which really it shouldn't, but sometimes it does. So those are my thoughts on it. Other than reading it out of order, which was stupid because the order was right there in the file. I mean, for the last like 3 months, the order was right there, but I didn't see it, so that's my fault.
Okay. Okay, so I'll jump in. For me, the thing is, I'm a huge Flash fan. I love Flash big time. So because the Flashpoint story arc is basically, it's majorly to do with the Flash. It's caused by the well, actually, it's caused by a Flash villain who's Reverse Flash. So, and a lot of the characters, like you said, Citizen Cold, a lot of them do come from the Flash universe, so I'm very familiar with it. But overall, I'm very familiar with all the other characters as well. I know some of their backstory and stuff. What I really liked about this arc is that they incorporated so many characters in it. I mean, you got characters like Booster Gold, Shazam, you know, like smaller characters like Vince was saying, the you know, with the Frankenstein and the werewolf and the I can't remember what they're called, but it's the same sort of Hellboy kind of group. So yeah, you know, like I'm really familiar with them. So I like the fact that it's actually the art introduces or uses all the characters instead of just relying on the main ones. You know, you got Cyborg playing. I really liked it also because, like I said, it's a departure from the usual Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash kind of storylines. We all know their backstory, how they came to be. So this is very different. It's sort of turning them upside down. Whereas, you know, it's hard to distinguish the line between who's the superhero and who's the villain, right? Because now you got Aquaman, you know, killing humans, you know, sinking continents. Same with Wonder Woman, when they're supposed to be the superhero. You've got Superman nowhere to be found. As everyone knows, Superman is like the pinnacle, like with all his powers he could easily end it, and that's why I think they immediately took him out of play. Like Vince said, the ending for me it was kind of 50-50 because of the fact that the ending brought in Batman and the Flash. I like that because I am a Flash fan. Um, I did spend the entire arc waiting for Superman to be introduced and for him to kind of save the day. So I think that's why they put him in at the end and with him saving the day because they know a lot of people reading it were looking for that.
Mhm.
But like you, I think that was a bit of a cop out.
Yep.
But I think if you read through, they spent so much time in the dark of despair, whereas the heroes would try to raise up, like Flash and Batman would try to turn it, and it wouldn't happen. It would still go back. I think that at the end, they just to spin it and have the good ending, the good triumphs evil kind of ending. But yeah, I mean, like I said, with Booster Gold, they really delve into his character and they kind of show you how hard it is because he has to portray himself as such an airhead sellout,
Mhm.
whereas because he does time travel, he can't let anyone really know how much he does have on his shoulders, right? Like Rip Hunter is his son, and if you read it, like Rip Hunter actually sees Booster Gold, but he has no idea that that's his father until later in his life when he grows up into adulthood, right? Like he doesn't like Booster Gold has to hide that because of the fact of the whole time travel, yada yada yada. So that's a really hard thing. A lot of the time when he does something noble and saves the day, he has to downplay it and make himself seem like all he wants is you know love from fans and stuff like that. So I did like that. Like I said, I think a lot of these characters also lead into a lot of their shows. So you got Rip Hunter. So if you watch the show, you'd know him, but if you read the comics, like you really aren't introduced to him and his function.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I think it's a really good arc. I liked it a lot when I read it. At the end, when I was done, like I really had like a sense of, yes, I was really glad to have read it because it is long, but like when you get through, you have a sense of like, that was really fun. That was good. And yeah, like I said, I just like that they incorporated everyone in there.
Okay, but Ricky, can you tell me how that starts the kickoff for the New 52? Because I remember starting to read all the
Well,
Batman.
basically, okay, so the new 52, right? What they did is they basically took all their storylines and stuff and they boiled it down to just 52
Character.
I can't remember yeah, 52 characters. So now when you look, there was the like if you know about like Wildstorm and Vertigo,
Yep.
these are different, like what's Danger Girl, that sort of stuff. Those are owned by DC, but they're not a part of the DC universe,
Yeah.
right? Like the DC universe is, Superman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. So they took this and sort of melded it all together. Because near the end, when Barry's traveling through time, he sees those different timelines. He sees the DC universe,
Yep.
he sees the Vertigo universe, and the Wildstorm universe. And so basically, after Flashpoint, they put it all together so that it's one universe incorporating those guys into it. So that's why you could have things like Batman and Danger Girl, Batman and Ninja Turtles. You know,
Okay.
like the thing is, New 50 because they just rebooted it again.
Yeah.
But I'm like this. That's how this led up to that New 52.
Okay. Because I was trying to figure out if this is the kickoff to the New 52, then how does Bruce Wayne exist? Because if I was trying to figure out like this started up a new universe because I remember reading the New 52 Batman where it's like he's training Arthur. Sorry. Pennyworth is a badass. Like it's like a hybrid of the.
Yeah,
So I was like, I don't understand how this would kick off the New 52.
Yeah, well, yeah, basically, I mean, it's the same in the show, right? So, Reverse Flash goes in, messes up the timeline because he hates Barry Allen. And then after the timeline is so basically the way Flashpoint works is that even though Barry Allen is able to return to his normal timeline,
Yeah.
the timeline is never the same. It's not like you wake up the day after you left previously and we're in this one. It's still altered somehow, right? And so basically the alteration is that they incorporated all these others into the DC universe, and that's how they were able to cut some out because by saying, oh, when Flashpoint happened, before we used to have, I'm just going to make an example, like say Aquaman, if they wanted to kill Aquaman in New 52, right? They could say, okay, Aquaman existed before, but after Flashpoint, when Barry came back, this altered timeline, even though he's back to the way it was, in this altered timeline, his mom didn't sleep with that human, so he was never born. So Aquaman doesn't exist.
Okay.
So that kind of thing.
Okay.
Well, that ain't the most confusing thing you've ever heard in your life.
Well, no. You know what the most interesting is? Try to draw out the timeline and all the Flash people. Like, I don't know what Zoom, Reverse Flash, Negative Flash, Yellow Flash, Red Flash, Kid Flash. Like, holy crap! Like, the whole thing about Reverse Flash not being able to actually kill the Flash, but trying to kill the Flash, I still don't understand that. So
okay, so Reverse Flash, I'll give you a little Flash, a little thing. So Reverse Flash, Eobard Thawne, is from the 31st century.
Yeah.
He idolized the Flash, right? So he went in, he broke into the museum, he stole the Flash costume, and he found the cosmic treadmill, which is what the Flash can use to go back in time. And he tried like really hard recreating the lightning strike with the chemicals, but he couldn't get the power. He was able to find the little pieces of the Speed Force in the costume that he stole, the Flash's costume.
Speed Force is a physical object?
It's hard if you watch the Flash TV show. They kind of it's kind of a dimensional thing, right? It's hard to explain. But anyway, so he uses that to basically amplify the Speed Force around him to give him the power. He uses the cosmic treadmill, goes back in time, and then because he goes back in time, the time travel warps his mind, and he hates the Flash when he gets there. So what he does is he goes and he murders the Flash's mom.
Yep.
And then that's when the Flash's dad goes away to prison, blah, blah, blah. Then when the Flash gets his powers, he then, see, the thing with Eobard Thawne is that if he kills the Flash, then the Flash never exists. So in the 31st century, he never has anyone to look up to. He never steals the costume. He never goes back in time. That's why Reverse Flash doesn't exist. Eobard Thawne still exists, but he never becomes the Reverse Flash. You understand what I'm saying? Because now he has no one to look up to. He never there's no costume to steal to amplify the Speed Force, so he never becomes Reverse Flash. So yeah, you kind of have to be like a Flash fan to understand the Speed Force and the multiple flashes, and the multiple flashes is really the whole alternate universe, like multi-universe kind of thing. Because Jay Garrick is the first Flash, but it's not like he's from the same timeline, or not the same universe as Barry Allen, right? He's from a different world. I don't know. It's really weird. So you gotta kind of like, there's Impulse and Kid Flash, and yeah, there's like tons.
All right, correct me if I'm wrong. I know it didn't have anything. Maybe it didn't have anything to do with time travel. I don't think it did. But didn't we go through the same confusing, like, ball of yarn when we read the Green Lantern series? Like,
You mean the Blackest Night?
No, that wasn't time travel.
No,
No,
I
that
know it
was
wasn't time travel, but there was like a whole
yeah.
bunch of different lanterns, right?
Yes.
I was just,
Oh
I
yeah,
was
but
just,
that's
I was just as confused then as I am now.
Yeah, those are different emotions.
Anyways, it
yeah.
doesn't matter. I don't care. Anyways, you guys have anything else to say about the comic without getting too deep into the nerdgasm that Ricky just spewed all over the place?
Yeah, I mean, it's no dog killing Hitler.
Hey! That was that was one time. That was one time, Ricky, and I would thank you not to mention it again. You douchebag.
Another dollar in the swear jar.
Yeah, I'll have to convert that to the loony, okay?
That baby is gonna have a crazy vocabulary.
Yeah, y'all blame it on the guy from the internet. All right, so that was the Flashpoint art. We didn't give out grades. Did you guys want to give out ratings?
I'll give it a 4.
Oh, yeah, I'd definitely give it a 4 out of 5 too.
I'm not going to rate it because I didn't read it all the way through, and I read it in the wrong order. So I think it would be unfair of me to judge it too harshly. But if I had, I'd probably give it a 3.5 out of 5. Just the art alone and the
flow,
the ease of flow to it made it one of the better comics that I've actually read. It still seemed a little bit too crack fiction for me, but I read some crazy crap anyway, so what does it matter? All right, anyways, so that is it for us this time. We'll try to come back before June and do another episode. We're
walking by the next time, man.
Yeah. You better have a job by the next time you're on here, kid. Anyways, the next time we're on, we're going to be doing a movie called Vantage Point. It stars Dennis Quaid, Forrest Whitaker, and William Hurt. William Hurt is a fantastic actor, but the movie itself isn't, spectacular. But
Don't spoil it.
It's different. Anyways, that is for next time. If you want to get in contact with us, you can do so. Email at the3cast.com is the email address. You can follow us on Twitter at MTWB is my Twitter handle. Ricky is Ricky_Williams1. Vince is VWHUI. The 3cast is at the 3cast. You can follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/the 3cast. We record whenever we have time, usually. Ricky and Vince are both busy fathers with careers. I'm a lazy stay-home nobody. So we record when we can. That's what we do. Anyways, we will be back next time with the Vantage Point. We'll see you then.
Hey, Josh, can you wave?
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Bye, guys.
See you guys later.